like I never left. So, yeah, good morning. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. We call it Justice's Waiting Room. My name is Jared. I am your host. You can follow me just about anywhere, but Blue Sky is probably your best bet. LikelyAlien.bluesky.social, LikelyAlien on Twitter. Morning. Share link in the Discord. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I don't know why everyone's name looks different. I didn't change anything. So just so you know. I don't know why it's showing people's names in my live. But, I mean, it's good to put a name with a screen name. You know what I mean? Hey, I'm just glad to have y'all as friends. Just to go through it with. Um, First of all, you gotta get me off front page of Reddit. We'll never get anywhere in life. Gaza, Israel, such a fucked situation. Free Palestine. Hamas security forces kill 32 members of Gaza gang. Just constant mass death. Even if it's not on your own land, right? Yeah, keep in mind I didn't change any settings. Just so everyone knows. Let me see. Community moderation. If I can moderate my chat. I'm trying to see if there's like some way I can change it. Okay. So obviously I apologize profusely. PC and desktop. That's great. So obviously, with all of the airstrikes in Russia on oil fields, obviously Russia's oil production and sale is going to wane. And so here's that 17.1% oil export declination after massive drone strikes. And then I think what's going to end up being the big story here is the U.S. getting their ass busted by China in this fucking trade war because Donald Trump's a goddamn idiot. hearing issues. Looks pretty stable to me on my end. Let me know if anybody else has issues. I mean, it's a brand new headset. I got no obstructions in or near. Okay. Jesus Christ. Israel frees nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, including hundreds of terror convicts. Prisoners released after Hamas frees the last 20 living hostages. Among those released are dozens of high profile terrorists sentenced to life in jail. 154 of the worst offenders deported to Egypt. So, um, the last two times that I've been to the doctor, my blood pressure has been, high. He didn't put me on anything. He said, if we can't get your blood pressure down, we'll put you on a low dose of losartan. He said the only thing about a low dose of losartan is it's going to raise your potassium levels, but it's only going to affect your blood pressure by like 5 points, 10 points. And we want to monitor that. So now I'm just monitoring my blood pressure. 148 over 92. I thought the drive in was a little stressful, and I iterated that there was a massive accident on I 70 with an overturned semi, and so I had to take Pendleton Pike to Mass Ave all the way across the city to go to a doctor's appointment, and I think that my blood pressure was up because the drive was very herky jerky. So instead of me going 70 miles an hour for a half an hour and just arriving in glee, I had to kind of take a different route that I don't normally take, and I think your blood pressure would be higher just from the stress. And he was just like, right, this is two appointments in a row where your blood pressure's in that range. So we talked about the level of physical activity, and I need to add some additional physical activity. Um, but yeah, the good news is like very much who I am to you is who I am. Does that make sense? So I get 8 hours of sleep plus. I am active, right? Pretty active for having like a sedentary type job and hobbies that are pretty sedentary. That said, though, don't drink, don't smoke. Like when I say don't drink, right? My wife and I'll have a marg every now and then when we go eat, right? But on the whole, I live pretty clean. I say pretty clean. I'm not the kind of person to sit around and eat chips and bonbons. It's not that I don't like chips and fucking bonbons. I wasn't raised like that. I'm more of like a eat a bag of popcorn, drink more water, right? So I live pretty healthy. Don't smoke cigarettes anymore. Not drinking 4 or 5 nights a week. I don't know what's going on. Something happened today, and I didn't touch any buttons, so I don't know why it's showing instead of showing whatever your names are, right? Yeah, I don't know what happened. It's crazy. Perfect receipt for perfect recipe for Civil War. October 14th. When did this come out? Yeah, yeah. I hate that link is that fucking long though. Holy shit. Look at this shit. You're on at a different time fucking with everyone. Anyway, here's here's the link. That shit was way too long, dude. That's Hamas has deployed 7,000 troops to cleanse Gaza as Palestinians scramble to fill power vacuum. Perfect recipe for civil war. Remember that I told you people who want power are the people who do not deserve it. And I've tried to say over the course of history, political power gained by means of violence, whatever that is, whatever the result is. Like if you achieved a truce and took power, it will fail. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And it's not just the power corrupts the individual, the power itself corrupts. And so, what you'll see, despite their best intentions, is you'll look who will move in on Gaza. And as I've said, people already have contracts on the land. So, free Palestine, man. NATO chief mocks Russia over their malfunctioning submarine limping home from patrol. Yeah. Well, the thing that we've already known is that they they hired someone at TikTok. Uh, the remember the app TikTok went down, the app came back. I'm telling you, I was a fucking rocket ship. I went from 0 to 16,600 followers in 90 fucking days. I've never seen that kind of natural growth in anything I ever did in my entire fucking life. And I still don't have 17,000 followers on TikTok. And it's like 6 months after that. You know what I mean? So, and nothing changed. I'm very formulaic, right? Yeah. And so think about having 17,000 followers and posting a video and not even 1,000 people viewed that. What? But I understand that those same style videos used to get like 12 to 20,000. What happened? Is it me? Right? Have I changed? Oh shit. Remember how I told you that robots are not the answer? AI is not the answer. Don't give them power. Here is a robot tank breaking down before it ever saw combat. The Urine 9. No shit. A pissy fit. Unmanned combat ground vehicle, once showcased by Russia's defense industry as a flagship robot tank. Dumb. It can only go 22 mile an hour? Well, that's a problem. From hype to humiliation. So remember we said they were bombing fucking Gaza as the ceasefire fighter jets flying overhead bombing Gaza as the ceasefire happened. A lot of yeah. I noticed a lot of people make a lot of content bitching about views, but one thing that I learned I got a degree in social media, and the one thing that they talked about is that if what you are doing is correct, it will not be well received right now. And don't worry about that. Just keep doing what you're doing. If you believe in what you are doing, just keep doing it. And the views will come. And far too many people think about the views all the fucking time, and all of their content is based on views, and they attend workshops and buy books and pay attention to trends, and I don't. I don't do any of that shit. I want to be naturally. It's like, all right, so my family grew up drag racing, okay? Uh, it's kind of funny. The people that you probably wouldn't like, full disclosure, the people that you probably wouldn't like are the people that don't have a lot of money but they have nitrous or a supercharger. And I'm more of a naturally aspirated fella, meaning that I think superchargers and nitrous are fucking extra, and a naturally aspirated motor's gonna be about as efficient as it gets at every level of drag racing, and it's gonna break a lot less. It'll be slower, sure. And who doesn't want the fast and furious feeling of pushing the nitrous button, right? Um, and I just don't believe in go read the hashtags to find out what should you be talking about today. These apps are being taken over by people that have corporate interest. I'm not interested in what they're interested in. Neither are you. So I'm going to wait until I'm naturally struck. Something strikes me and I have to make a piece of content about it, and I try to be thoughtful, and get it all in one take, right? So you don't see me chopping up my shit and spending hours of my day, right? No. And people call it low effort, but I see what everybody else is doing and saying, and I think that my content, one take, get it done, be effective and efficient with your content delivery, is better than what they're doing. They may be making some money now, but they're not saying anything or doing anything, right? Like, for example, I watched a video today from an influencer that I've, Shalom, an influencer that I've followed for a while. And what were they doing? They were they were glossing over the effectiveness of boycott, protests, and strike, and saying sometimes violence is necessary. And I just wanted to point out that that lily white girl isn't going to pick up a gun and exchange fire. So what the fuck is she doing talking about violence? If you aren't going to commit it yourself, talking about it is fomenting it. You're literally like enraging people to the point where left, right, center doesn't matter. They will pick up a weapon and lay waste. And again, as I've said, lay down your arms, pick up your plowshare. It's time to build a garden. And pay attention to the people that bailed off of the site. Ooh, baby. Ooh, baby, that's a large number. Yeah, I watch a lot of these content creators have been bitching about views lately. Venezuela closes its Norwegian embassy. Yeah, no, that's been. Keep in mind that's been happening to me in terms of views getting hit. That's been happening to me a long time. 232 billion fucking dollars, yo. That's so much money. Hey, that might end up being the most significant story of the weekend. European Union is moving to use roughly $232 billion in frozen Russian central bank assets to secure sustainable funding for Ukraine as other financing sources wane. EU leaders aim to reach a political agreement at next week's Brussels summit, after which the bloc's executive will quickly draft a legal mechanism to release funds by mid 2026. Stepping up. But yeah, students' alleged torture death by Cambodian scammers sparks turmoil in South Korea. Yo, hey, my wife loves horror films. It's October. Hey, just know it because my wife, I know that she loves horror films and shit. That sounds like a horror film. Okay. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung has called for an all-out diplomatic efforts to protect citizens in Cambodia after a university student was lured there by a scam ring and allegedly tortured to death. Ho, 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 ho. The number of kidnappings of South Koreans in Cambodia has soared in recent months. Hey, yeah, hell yeah, they're monitoring what they view. Oh, thank goodness. Donald Trump says he'll focus on the Ukraine war after brokering the Israel Hamas deal, right? I want to continue to point out they're still killing people in Gaza like nothing fucking happened. The IDF committed fucking war crimes. Ooh. The Kremlin issues a veiled threat towards Moldova, cites Ukraine as a warning. CBNT said, note to self, no Cambodia. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. At least 5 tanks hit. Ukrainian drones spark massive blaze at Russia's largest oil terminal in occupied Crimea. I want to continue to point out as I continue to play Battlefield 6, which has just come out, that the options for the factions are NATO, so you could play as a NATO member, or you could play as Pax Armada, which is basically ICE. I will only touch the tip of the iceberg in terms of the level of war crimes that Pax Armada commits in Battlefield 6. Because I only played the campaign for about 45 minutes before I was just like, yeah, let's get to the doing up other people, you know what I mean? I'm sharing the show real quick. Hell yeah, Slava Ukraine. I keep having to remind myself. JWR is the hashtag. if you would. Also, not a big fan of when I log on to. Was wild. Madagascar's president says he's in exile, fears for his life after troops join rebellion. Yeah, he calls Gaza peace and stay out of Ukraine, Slav Ukraine. Yeah, for sure. Debbie asked, "Did you see the report of the surveillance center possibly in Virginia by Midas Touch?" No. Trump is the biggest streetwalker of the world. See, this shit pisses me off, bro. I fucking hate Russia. This is the kind of shit I can't stand. Russian forces shelled trucks carrying UN humanitarian aid in the Kherson region. Fuck. It doesn't even say people died. I'm not even mad. Like, people die. That's just like a thing. No shit. UK's MI5, domestic spy agency for the British, says political leaders are the target of Russian and Chinese spying. No shit. No shit. Here's Volodymyr Zelensky outlining how to finance Tomahawk missiles. So, remember those Tomahawk missiles that they're scared of? They're coming. You know how we do it. About the first half hour, we're going to talk about international news, and we'll switch over to the U.S. Hey, this is good. Almost 1.6 kilometers, a couple miles, I think. Yeah, I just want you to know MI5 with the total whiff on that fucking announcement. That's a Benny move. Seems as though they're in cahoots. Wouldn't surprise me. The whole world's gone to shit. Belgorod resident says life in Russia is simply hopeless amid drone strikes, power outages, intercepted call suggests. Do it later. I want to read the fucking article, dick. Life in Russia is simply hopeless. Chinese container ship Istanbul Bridge reaches UK via Arctic route in 20 days. It's a big deal. A whole ass country. Estonia makes donors to Russia's army compensate Ukraine in landmark policy. Estonia's state prosecutor's office has introduced a new approach to prosecuting individuals who provide financial support to Russia's military, requiring offenders to make substantial payments to Ukrainian causes instead. It's good. Such little dick numbers. Come on, Don. I knew he had a tiny penis, but these military numbers are fucking dumb. You're only going to give Ukraine 20 to 50 tomahawks? Why not 200 to 500? I'm just saying, let's get this shit over with. I want to keep pointing out that Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel formed Hamas. A European court orders Russia to pay Georgia, the country, 250 million euro over the war in 08. All right, all right. Let's talk about national news. All right, so I think the big story nationally today is Alex Jones lost his appeal. The Supreme Court rejects that appeal. He owes them one. He owes the victims of Sandy Hook $1.4 billion. Those poor people whose children died at fucking school. That Alex Jones had the fucking nerve to shit on. I'm gonna enjoy him paying those people. Is that showing up in politics? Where's Yeah, I don't see this time cover. What's great about that is the internet does not give a shit about that. Hold on. I'm trying to see if where how far do I gotta go. Obviously, another big story today. U.S. news outlets refuse to sign new Pentagon rules to report only official information. No, the media stood up to this regime and refused to sign loyalty pledges, which is what Nazis did. Mitt Romney's sister-in-law found dead. Bum bum bum. They're suppressing the fuck out of it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All that shit. A sister-in-law of former U.S. Senator and Republican presidential Mitt Romney found dead in Valencia Friday evening. Carrie Romney, 64, found dead next to a parking garage in the town center area of the neighborhood. Preliminary information says she jumped or fell or was pushed from the top of the parking garage. Yeah, Mitt Romney's sister-in-law, Carrie Romney. Looks like there's still up in the air whether it was suicide or she jumped, she was pushed, she fell is not very likely. Britain issues first online safety fine to US website 4chan. $26,644 for failing to provide information about the risk of illegal content on its service, marking the first penalty. Utah. Aren't they from out west? Valencia, California. My apologies. 4 arrests made in connection with the mass shooting that left 6 dead in Mississippi. Oh, she posted the gobble gobble photo in the court. Okay, let me open Discord. By the way, sorry I was a moment late. I let Shepherd out. He's an elderly animal. Alright, so let's see. Oh my god. Yeah, that has got to be the most unbecoming. That has to be the most unbecoming photo of a man I've ever seen. Jeez. You know what I mean? Like, let's see if we can get an article. Donald Trump, Time Magazine cover. Why no hair and an extremely small crown? What? Wrote a relatively good story about me, but the picture may be the worst of all time. They disappeared my hair and then had something floating on top of my head that looks like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. Really weird. It's because his neck looks like a vagina. Pussy throat. I believe that's what we called it. If he's mad about that, yeah, he needs to lose weight. Yeah. His neck fat's bothering him. Jesus. A 4,270-year-old human skull was found in Fayette County, Indiana. Factory fire in Bangladesh capital, garment factory and chemical warehouse. 12's approaching almost lunchtime. Yes, it is. Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation donating $50 million to historically black Atlanta colleges. Way to go, Arthur Blank. Do it again. Do it every day till you don't have anything. Okay. Okay. If there's an outside chance that I could decapitate an old person, I'm all that much more in favor of solar panels. I'm just kidding, but here's a story about how in Brooklyn, New York, an elderly woman was killed by a flying solar panel in Brooklyn as a nor'easter hit NYC with strong winds. Detached panel taken by the wind, blown 20 feet away, where it fatally struck a pedestrian at an adjacent walkway. Killed a 76-year-old woman. Better anchor them shits down, huh? Of course, an investigation found no criminal wrongdoing in a hunger slash thirst death. Somebody fucking starved to death in jail. And oh by the way, it's like Final Destination. Yeah. Hey, as I've said before, we are all paper mache. AP News reporting GM's going to take a $1.6 billion hit as incentives for EVs are slashed and emission rules are eased. Multiple people commenting that's some Final Destination shit. That's Final Destination is another one of those movies that's just called real life. Yeah. Um 2012 Final Destination. I'm trying to think movies that are basically life. And it's like your life is a mix of 2012 Final Destination, Don't Look Up, can't figure out why is this happening. Two fast trains collided in eastern Slovakia on Monday. Two injured, one derailed, one engine ruined. Suggested human error might be to blame. No shit. Uh, Jersey had a state of emergency in effect a couple days ago because of that storm. Hope everybody's okay. It's not like I laid down roots in New Jersey, but I stayed in Absecon for like 2 weeks right outside of Atlantic City. And then when I came home for the Marine Corps, my dad and brother still went to ATCO to race. And so I went out there a couple more times. So I've been in like New Jersey probably more than you're supposed to be. Like, I'm a big Kevin Smith fan. Airports are refusing to play content produced. What happened in Alaska? What happened in Alaska? God damn it. America is going broke slowly, says JP Morgan. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole reason the show exists is because I'm not going to let the mainstream media in the United States tell me how to take in the news and what's supposed to be important, right? Janet Mills enters crowded Democratic race to unseat Susan Collins. Isn't that marine crab fisherman, isn't he running for that seat? What the fuck are we doing? Washington Post columnist proudly boasts, "We're now a conservative opinion page." So, if you ever wanted an organization to never give your motherfucking money to ever, WAPO is on that list. And another one of those big no shit. No shit. Joe Biden and Netanyahu were offered a Gaza deal a year ago. Yeah, no shit. And Donald Trump told Bibi not to negotiate with Donald Trump, and that Donald Trump wanted to be the one to orchestrate the peace deal. Uh, so again, no fucking shit. Tariffs are way up, interest on debt tops 1 trillion, and Doge didn't do much. By the way, uh, I work for Beyond Finance Accredited Debt Relief. If you have unsecured debt over 10,000, and when I say unsecured, I mean credit cards, lines of credit, payday loans, personal loans, student loans, and you're thinking this these accounts are awfully hard to manage. Do I have a program for you? So let's say that you're spending $1,000 a month on minimum payments. Those are 80% interest. It's only a couple $100 is actually hitting your principal. We could probably cut that payment in half, reduce the interest to zero, and then even reduce the principal you owe on those balances by 40 to 60% across the board and get you out of debt in the next couple years. You should write my number down, 877-230-7106, and know that the people that you pay interest to invest in companies like Palantir. CNN's going to host a town hall with AOC and Bernie Sanders. The U.S. just bailed out Argentina. Seven 700,000 homeless people in the United States. Portland, SeaTac, Westchester. Newsmax also refused to sign Trump's new Pentagon press access policy. This is exactly how you defeat them. I told you this regime can be defeated with memes. Violence is not the answer. Yeah. I don't want to be propagandized in an airport. Mike Johnson's plan to keep the House closed is backfiring. All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Gavin Newsom trolling Donald Trump, which again might be all he's good for. But it's better than being a coward ass bitch. GOP rep says, hey, hey, areas will just have to deal with hospitals closing. Yeah. On the improbable, audacious, and so far unstoppable rise of Zoran Mamdani. Also, you could get away from Google. I use Opera. One of the main reasons I use Opera is because it has a reader mode. So any news article that's got a paywall, I can just push a button and get around that and read that shit. hmm Hell yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene says Republican men are weak. Hell yeah, Marjorie. Too might be too little, too late, bitch. But here's Trump 28 talks ramping up because Donald Trump's a fucking moron. Transportation Secretary Monday said upcoming No King's Day protests are part of the anti fascist movement known as Antifa. Hey, look, every now and then this turd pulls its head out of its ass and says something and gets to be interviewed in the news. Yeah, they're trying to do some shit, yeah. This would help me so much. So think about this. Think about this. Donald Trump, okay, is a fucking moron. Oh my god. Donald Trump wants to sell student loan debt to private investors. Guess what happens when they do that? You can enroll your student loan debts into my program and pay no interest and pay like half what you owe, which is exactly what I'm going to wait for. I hope he does that. You fucking dumbass. That's so good for me. Zoran Mamdani honors trans activist Sylvia Rivera, says NYC will be a pro trans sanctuary city. I didn't know there was a thing called being pro trans. Uh, yeah, I'm like pro whatever you want to do, you know? LGBTQIA plus. ICE is using full body restraints. That's fucking crazy. Democrat youth focus groups endorse Graham Plattner in the main Senate race. As Tim Walz said, I am pro mind your business. I like that. The problem is that here's the thing about minding your own business. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. So the problem you can see that is inherent with mind your own business is that people do not take up causes they should take up due to proximity, right? So the problem with it's a paradox, right? If you just keep your head down, eventually they come for you, right? I'm frequently a reminder of the Niemöller quote, right? First they came for the socialists, and then the communists, and then the right, and then the Jews, and then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me, right? That's the mind your business is great. Mind your business is great, but I think there comes a point where you got to make some shit your business. You know what I mean? I think some things happen and it changes you forever. You know what I mean? Like I'm all for like keep pay no mind, keep your hands to yourself type shit. But I think that's part of the problem is that there are things in your lifetime that you're going to have to take a stand over. I'm with that too. I'm with that too. People so worried about trans people in terms of minding their own business for fucking sure. When I was a kid, people were way too concerned about kids being gay. Okay. I was really good friends with a girl named Rachel and her neighbor named Damien when I was in high school. And Damien was a gay kid that I graduated with. And people cared way too much about that. Just, just so you know. Like we were kids. Damien being gay was like the last thing on my mind. So I totally understand. Didn't directly impact me. Why should it bother me, right? And don't get it twisted. I want people to. Nearly all state funding for Missouri school vouchers used for religious schools. Do you see how they're defunding education? Right? Defunding public education. I'm sick. I'm sick to my stomach suddenly. Trump again makes a weird statement about Carolyn Levitt's lips. They move like a machine gun, right? Federal officers delayed, threatened to shoot and arrest ambulance crew at Portland ICE facility. I heard a great analogy about minding your own business, right? Minding your own business is making sure that you have the mask on and that the bag inflates when you breathe into it before you help someone put their mask on. Does that make sense? Yeah, I guess he's done with Laura Loomer. Then obviously, President Beautiful on stage, she's like, what the fuck? Yeah, he acted weird. Yeah, he's just a weird motherfucker, man. Somebody's got to keep track of it. Fuck. I'm reading the comments. Donald Trump's such a fucking weirdo, bro. So remember, everything is done for a reason. So Marjorie Taylor Greene kind of unfucking herself is just a ploy to get reelected. When they gonna make the jigsaw emoji, dude? She would. Okay, here's that USA Today story about Alex Jones, the Supreme Court rejecting Alex Jones' bid, his appeal. So he's gonna have to pay that 1.4 billion out to all them people. Good, good. Remember that the reason that the government is shut down, the reason that the government is shut down is the Democrats have elected another person that would make 218 votes when it comes to the discharge petition for the Epstein files. Understand that the reason that the government is closed is so that Mike Johnson can avoid swearing her in. And they're going to have to reopen the government. He'll have to swear her in. They'll have enough votes to go around Mike Johnson now with and getting the discharge petition for the Epstein files. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Zohran Mamdani pledges to deploy hundreds of lawyers to combat Trump's anti-LGBTQ plus policies. The Bulwark with the Speaker of the House is abetting authoritarianism. Yes. Didn't want to pay up. Shouldn't have been a D-bag. Yeah, for sure. How much should billionaires pay? All of it. What are we talking about? North Carolina announced that they plan to gerrymander, abuse their power. Hell yeah. Cash Patel is mad because they're reporting that the New York Times over a damaging report suggesting top two Department of Justice officials bonded over their shared hatred of Cash Patel. Love it. Top economist Jeremy Siegel says the U.S. sleepwalked into a rare earth crisis. Just saying what it is. You know what I mean? Too good. We just talked about this, right? Earlier, blindfold executions after Trump leaves Hamas in control of Gaza. Here you go. Rivals and suspected collaborators are targeted as regional powers warn disarming the Palestinian terror group will be difficult. I can't believe they're even calling it a Palestinian terror group. Hey, I want you to have no surprises. Listen to me when I say, as that peace deal was being signed, Israeli fighter jets were bombing overhead. Think about being in a war in 2025, having a truce on a table, still running bombing missions as the signatures are signed. You don't even let that jet leave. Those bombs are never dropped. Again, it's not about results. It's all about shock and awe. It's about appeasement. It's about appearances. It's never about what actually happens. Ultimately, Donald Trump is demented as fuck and does not see Portland on fire because it's fucking not. All I'm saying is ICE is losing dance battles to fucking plastic frogs. That's what I'm saying. Working people are getting screwed, and I wanted to say something about it. Here's Maine Senate candidate, fellow Marine, by the way, Graham Plattner. U.S. consumers are bearing more than half the cost of tariffs. U.S. consumers will continue to struggle with high prices. Not like we didn't know. Indonesia Indonesia's president heard on hot mic asking Trump if he can meet son Eric. Yo, look at this guy. Pennsylvania man scaled an iron security fence in the middle of the night, eluded police. I mean, this happened a while ago. Pleas of terrorism, 22 counts of arson, burglary, aggravated assault of Governor Shapiro, 21 counts of reckless endangerment and loitering. Under a plea deal, 25 to 50 years in prison, which is far less than he would have. And remember these dumb motherfuckers. JD Vance sells out Pete Hegseth over his fake story on Qatar. Cleveland won't be showing Christine Ohm's video. All right. Letitia James' first public incident since her indictment. She comes out and supports Zohran Mamdani. Yeah, Jesus Christ. It's so weird. They're so weird. And it makes me think, it makes me think about incest. When I think about Donald Trump and his kids, and it's like, hey, you know, how do I say this? There's definitive proof Donald Trump sexually assaulted boys and girls. Why not his kids? I mean, he's shown that he'll be ruthless to anyone, right? Yep, love to see it. Trump's band of amateurs now running the world. Yep. Remember, there's still the powerful elites, right? I'm pretty sure Kamala Harris's husband is a Zionist. I wonder if that number's right. Look at the amount of money Donald Trump took in from APAC. Congressional critics are calling for an inquiry to ensure no laws or industry codes have been broken as doubts spread over lawyers' independence after law firms that cut deals with Donald Trump face ethical questions. Bum, bum, bum. Hope they all lose their licenses. Donald Trump supports building this road in Alaska. Native Americans say that road will kill them. And so I'm not for that. I'm not for further development of land. 211-mile road accessing an $8 billion copper deposit. That's nothing. America needs a mass movement now. Hmm. Or autocracy may sink into autocracy for decades. Sounds like the American Socialist Party. Oh, you know what I need to do? Now that I think about it, now that they're saying that we might slide into autocracy for decades if we don't do some. Um, Maybe I'll take that meeting with Pathos. See what it costs to get a little airtime. Cause I've been thinking about that for a while. Just been busy. Yeah. And the thing about that, Bob, he's even bad at that. He's bad at money management. Mm. Remember, he was basically broke once he became president and has enriched himself into the billions since. Yep. Insane. What? GOP lawmaker demands parental consent be required for doctors to treat teens' STIs. The fuck? Sunday Morning Herald with the headline I'm so glad that in my life I didn't acquiesce to becoming a fucking coal miner. You know what I'm saying? If the parent isn't with me, I have to call and get verbal permission. I mean, when I was a teen, my parents stopped going in with me to the doctor. It's just weird. I don't know. I don't have kids. I don't have to have much of an opinion about it. Democratic governor candidate slams her GOP opponent for opposing gay job protections. Winsome Earl Sears is facing attacks for not supporting LGBTQ rights. Abigail Spanberger, former Congress member and the current Democratic nominee for governor of Virginia, is hitting her Republican opponent, Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl Sears, with a television ad condemning her for opposing job protections for gay people. Mm-mm. Look at you picking your false prophets. A third of Americans. That's excessive. You're saying 115 million people. A third of Americans believe Trump's rise to power is part of God's plan as he leans further into MAGA evangelicalism. Again, think about the data. Neither of those are reliable sources. 5,500 people across 50 states is hardly representative of a $335 million population group. It's not a big enough study for me. And it was all off of right leaning websites. Of course, they believe this. Fox Media talking about surviving Trump. And it's another photo of Donald Trump's his neck. It's weird. Yes, Fox is trash. Here's a ProPublica article about how Texas had actually increased, Dallas had increased their police force, and this was a year before Donald Trump's violent crime rhetoric started to hit the airways, having mixed results. Hmm. Yeah. But yeah, they don't want small businesses to compete with large corporations. So that's part of the reasons they're like taking away health care and social safety nets. It will decimate small businesses. There's a reason that, my wife and I, when we do business, I think we try to do business locally as much as possible. Hmm. Stay away from chains where we can. One of the restaurants that we go to regularly, that I'm pretty sure that little Margarita Hut is. That's not what it's called. I'm pretty sure it's the only one of its kind. Let's sing some Eat the Rich, check the weather, and get out of here. Mm. Appreciate y'all hanging out while we check out the news. And they changed shit overnight on YouTube. I don't know if I like it. The volume looks different, the pause buttons look different. Anyway, yeah, they changed a bunch of changes. I noticed the stop button looks different. The volume button looks different. And I'll see if I can fix it.
up some decent instability, especially in the Arklatex region by the afternoon. With moderate shear in place, there's potential for supercells to develop, bringing a threat for damaging winds, large hail, and potentially even a tornado. It's still a ways out, so the exact storm mode is uncertain, but it's definitely a day we'll be watching closely.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for hanging out. All right. Here we go. Northwest part of the country is on fire. There are storms in North and South Dakota, Wisconsin. I'm sorry, North and South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, into Wisconsin and northern Illinois. Looks like there's major weather all over California. Again, I think they were due snow up at Lake Tahoe, but that whole state of California is covered in moisture. There is a vertical storm going basically from West Texas through the Panhandle, Oklahoma, going east. Obviously, there's a little bit of moisture in southeast Texas on the Gulf of Mexico, a little bit of moisture off of the Keys. Largely, the stories today are going to be the big storm out west. The weather intensity score is very high today. So, again, in the north part of the Midwest, rain. And then out west in California, rain. Looks like there's some little rain in Colorado too. Okay. Appreciate your time. Keep your head on a swivel. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.